I said that my atheist brother came home to talk me out of the Christian faith. Don't want to leave you hanging. It didn't work, obviously. But as my brother began to laugh at the Bible and all the contradictions he thought were there, my clothes began to rip. My shirt ripped off. Green muscle came out of me. And I remember saying this to my brother. I said, Ben, it's not what you don't know about God that's keeping you from Him. It's what you do know. I said, you know He's holy. The book of Romans says that men, and that's anthropos, men and women, men suppress the truth in unrighteousness. It's like getting a beach ball and trying to hold it under the water. The more you press down, the more force, invertedly speaking, comes back at you. And that's why people get so mad, because they're working so hard to suppress the truth. They don't want to hear about it. They want to build a culture where there's no remembrance of it, where there's no reminder of it. There's nobody telling them. There's nobody praying. There's nobody talking about God. There's no nativity scene. There's no crosses. Keep it out of our mind, because we are working as hard as we can to get this stuff to go away. But every time we push down, it keeps popping up over here. And the weekend that my older brother came home to talk me out of the Christian faith, we baptized him. And when he came up out of the water, he said, man, you haven't answered all my questions, but I think I was asking the wrong question. He said, don't tell Daddy, please don't. See, my daddy had hoped that my brother would calm me down. Finally, after a few weeks, my brother hadn't said anything to my dad that he'd gotten saved. My dad knew I was a little off, but for my law school psychologist brother to now fall into this would really have been devastating to my dad, he thought. So we're sitting around the dinner table, and the subject of God comes up, and I just start preaching. My dad stopped me and said, well, let your brother talk. Ben, talking to my older brother, what do you think about what he's saying? And my brother's moment of truth came. He just looked at my dad, looked at me, put his fork down, he just went, hallelujah. Wasn't long after that my father, at 57, my mom came home and my dad was pulling down his liquor collection from all over the world. He used to work in the oil business overseas and had this vast liquor collection. And my mom said, are we moving? What are you doing? And my dad said, all my life I prayed that God would show me a miracle. And I think He finally showed it to me in the form of my two sons. And I don't know much about God, he said. But last night I got down on my knees and asked Jesus Christ to forgive me for my pride and my arrogance. And so I began to, what He had done in my family, I began to take it to the campuses. Now we're on something like 700 college campuses around the world. And all I really am, I pastor a church, but really all I really am is an overgrown campus minister, probably the world's oldest living teenager. And my heart, I have no greater quest than to get out on a college campus or get out in a Starbucks and find someone, no matter what your age, and help you overcome the obstacles that are keeping you from God. Instead of having to suppress the truth, you can embrace the truth.